All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I am joined once again with Polny, and I gotta say, Bo, you hit the mark this time. This time you hit the mark. But you're making a believer out of me. I don't know much about timelines and the calendars or things of that nature. You do. You're the time analyst. I love giving you a platform, man. You give me a lot of hope. You give my audience a lot of hope. Or should I say, you strengthen our faith. That's what you do. You help strengthen our faith. Welcome back, Bo. You're always loved on my channel.
Thanks, Nino. No, I appreciate it. God is using all of us. He's using me, but he's also using you. It's just like you came in as a massive fighter. You're one of the best in the world. And now God's, like the Saul Paul moment, right? You think about that story, right? This was the #1 Jew who knew the scriptures more than probably anybody. And he hated the Christians. He was out to kill every single Christian. And then he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. In a matter of, this is the greatest part of the story, right? It's in a matter of a few minutes, like at 1 minute, Jesus appears to him. He falls off the horse. He says, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And the first words out of his mouth were this: Lord, Lord. You see, this is the whole point of the conversation. When God appears, it takes a second, it takes a minute, it takes 24 hours, depending how big it is. But in a heartbeat, everything changes. And in that moment in time, Saul became Paul. And he became one of the greatest apostles that ever lived. Why? Because the glory of God came upon him. And that's no different than our world right now. There's so many stories. You read the Bible, that which has been will be again. And so we're going to talk about things that have been and they're going to be again. Yeah, look, when we our last podcast, I basically said I'll play a 1-minute clip of it, but rather, I just want the world to know, yes, I got it right, but this is the point. God gets the glory because the point is he showed me how to calculate it. And I literally said, what was said about the war breaking out, and that weekend before that, God revealed to me that, there's a high probability there's going to be a war this coming weekend, and he showed me how to calculate it. So again, I'm showing the world God's timelines, and that's the whole point. He wrote the end from the beginning, period. Okay. The end is written. The only thing between now and the end is which side of the fence are you sitting on? Because God is real. Jesus Christ is real. And so is Satan. So is evil. And so what side of the fence are you going to sit on? Because the whole point of being on this earth here is to make a decision, make a wise choice. The world needs to realize that God is real. But the problem with our world is Adam and Eve let Satan on. And Satan's who? The great deceiver, right? And so now he's the prince of the air, prince of the world. He runs the world. And what does he do? He lies, kills, steals, destroys. And what do you see going on in the world? All of those, okay? Right. And what's Jesus Christ? I come to give you life more abundantly, John 10:10. And so in a godly kingdom, there should be no lack. In a satanic kingdom, all there is lack. And you never have enough. And so these are the two worlds that we live in. They're polar opposites. And right now, because they've grabbed the United States, okay, the whole world is, and more importantly, controlled by the same entity that was let on in the garden. And so now we're, again, like last podcast, right? We live not in normal times. Political events that are on in the world, right? It's all superseded by the Bible. So we don't live in political times, we live in biblical times. And last time I said, you're like, wow, I really like that, because it really, resonates with, what's going on in the world. In the presentation so I'm blast through today. Go ahead.
You got it right. You said, I think 10-6, correct? It was the date you gave?
Right. So let me actually
play you said 10-6, 10-7?
Yeah, so I'm going to let me play the clip here.
And you hit it on the mark.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. It's like when I hit things when things are hit, like biblically, they're to the day.
And that's like when
when Ginsburg died, right? It was to the day when oil went to negative $38 a barrel.
So what was the prediction you made before 10-6? It was Ginsburg when she died, correct? And you hit that on the mark.
Well, that was on the mark to the exact day. See, I didn't know the event on that one, but I knew that something would happen. And on that, it was just like in the year 2020. It was September, I think, 18th or something like that. And I said something's going to happen. And why? Because it's biblical timing, right? So 45 comes into office. 12, again, we're going to use the 1260 days here today because this is critical. And I want to be clear to your audience. This is not numerology, okay? This is literally the Bible, okay? When it rains for 40 days and 40 nights, okay, that's in the Bible. When it says, Daniel says, it'll be for time, times and a half a time, that's 3.5 years, which is 1260 days. 2 of those is a 70 weeks of Daniel, or basically 7 years, okay? So this is how the cycles are written in the Bible, and we're just taking those time windows. So like Trump comes in office, 1260 days, oil goes to negative $38 a barrel to the exact day. I didn't know it was going to happen, but it did. 30 days later, the Edenville Dam breaks. 40 days later, second seal of Revelation manifests, right? And then 150 days from oil going to zero, Ginsburg dies. But remember, 150 days is in the Bible because the water kept rising for 150 days. And on the 150th day, Ginsburg died. So you take Ecclesiastes, that which has been will be again. You take the time cycles of Old Testament and you apply them to the present day, and things blow your mind on how it happens. And so we're watching all these things manifest. And so now the 50-year cycle, the Leviticus cycle, was the one that predicted that the war is going to break out. Because thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. So we're in a 50-year Jubilee cycle. This is going to be mind-blowing to you and to your viewers of what we're going to talk about, because we've talked about this in the past. And the point I'm trying to make is we're living in biblical times where we're just watching things play out perfectly right now. So again, let me play this clip so just so people can be very clear about how incredible God is and how amazing the Bible is when you use it and you can calculate things. So here, check this out. The calculations are telling us it's year 2023. There's 3 fall feasts. We're in the last one. Trumpets is gone. Atonement is finished. That was on the 25th. And all that's left is tabernacles. And you and I are speaking right now on the 3rd of October in the time point of tabernacles, which ends this Friday, October 6th. God is moving. Tabernacles ends this Friday. Something, I believe, is coming.
This week.
This broadcast. Yeah, on this Friday, potentially, or into the Saturday, because it's basically Israel time versus United States time. So we run a 50-year cycle. 50 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, but more importantly, relative to war and conflict, the Yam Kiper War. David, let me read this to you. The Yam Kiper War, also called the October War, was initiated by Egypt and Saudi Arabia on what day? October 6th.
Yeah.
1973,
wow,
on the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Let's do a 50-year Leviticus cycle. Oh, coincidentally, this Friday, the last day of Tabernacles, October 6th.
This was not what you thought you would wake up to on a Saturday morning. Talk to us about the larger historical context. We heard there from Wrath is the 50th anniversary of that other awful surprise attack back in 1973.
A war which eventually drew both the United States and the Soviet Union. Sound familiar? 2 nations right now.
Wow.
And the war had a significant impact on the trajectory of an eventual peace process between Egypt and Israel.
My hat's off to you, by the way, Bo. My hat's off to you, man.
Take it off to God.
I'm telling you right now. I am wow, dude, to the day, and it lined up with Yom Kippur.
Yeah, and this is the point I want to make throughout this presentation. God's in control, you see. So I know you have a lot of people on your podcast, and they're all trying to do their best job. We're all trying to do our best job.
Well, I'm trying to put all the pieces together for my audience, and you all do it. You have an incredible piece. Juan brings a masterful piece, but this does line up kind of with what Juan has also told me. That's coming.
Yes, because there's a lot of things that are happening in the natural by man that's coordinated, that God's coordinated with all this. So having like Juan and all these other people that you talk to, Juan's got a lot of really deep information of what's going on. So the important thing is to take all the pieces you can and put it all together and then have what's called discernment and try to make sense of what makes the most sense. And you're really good at that, okay? Because you have this great ability to take a lot of pieces and put it together. So hats off to you, for your abilities and what you're doing. And then what my belief is very importantly, you got to take the Bible and supersede it above all of this, because this is like before the conversation started here on the air, we basically talked about what happened at the Red Sea. Understand what, as much as everybody might have had a plan at the Red Sea, it came down to this moment in time where Israel was pinned against the Red Sea. And this is like, let's just put ourselves in the situation. Imagine being at the Red Sea. Pharaoh's coming at us. We see him coming with his whole army. This happened, people. This happened. So you're pinned against the Red Sea. He's behind you. Pharaoh's coming at you. Mountains to your left and right. You're done. So that's the point of the presentation. What I'm trying to say is when God intervenes, everything suddenly changes, whether it's in a minute, like what happened to Saul Paul, or whether it's in 24 hours, what happened to Israel. But the point is, when God intervenes upon the earth, it's moments of time, whether it's minutes or hours, or in this case, might be 48 hours.
That's all he needs.
Because that's all he needs, right? Because we're talking, when God intervenes, he made everything in 6 days. He rested on the seventh, right? And so these are all biblical things that are happening. And so if God didn't intervene, if God didn't show up at the Red Sea, there would be no nation of Israel today, okay? For the same thing, if God does not intervene on our world, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know the day, because that's a secret. God will not reveal the day he's going to strike and how he's going to, ultimately, the kill shot or how the chessboard is going to be like flattened, okay? Because if he revealed that to even a prophet or anybody, then there is a possibility that God's perfect plan that he designed thousands of years ago would not manifest. So God's a winning God. He's never lost a battle. He'll never lose, and he doesn't lie. So he can't lose, and he's undefeated. This is the cool part. God's undefeated. And the reason was because, like you say, there's multiple levels of the chessboard. So God's undefeated. He runs the whole chessboard, and he will not lose this battle. And he's going to appear just like what happened at the Red Sea. And when after that miracle in 24 hours, it was not Israel that was dead. It was Pharaoh, his entire army. Go to the Red Sea. There's still the chariots are at the bottom of the sea. They try to hide that fact, but the chariots are down there.
The chariots are still there?
Yep. Yeah. There's a documentary done in the 70s. The guy went there and actually was whited or something like that. Went down there and actually. Oh yeah. This is all real stuff.
So the proof is there.
The proof is there, but they don't want you to know. Just like the Noah's Ark, right? That's all real too. But but they like when they find it, they say, oh, maybe. They always see evil will always put a question mark after everything, because if they even prove one thing, like even giants like Nephilim, right? If we know that there's like people, you got people on your shoulder, the big skulls, the long femurs, like all of this, this called the men of renown. All of this stuff is real because when
the giants and the elongated skulls puts a huge monkey wrench into evolution right there.
Everything. Well, because not only that, it proves the Bible. You see, that's the whole thing. They have to.
Can I just say this? I can't believe. Like in my awakening process, I left the Bible and I was like, I thought I was so smart and I was catching on and understanding the galaxies and the universes and extraterrestrials. And now I'm like right back to the Bible. This is where the awakening process has led me, and I can't believe it. And thanks to people like you as well.
Well, and all of what you're describing is in the Bible. That's the crazy part, like the Nephilim, the giants, the aliens, all that's in the Bible.
I can't believe yes.
The Bible's nothing but a history book. It's a history book, but this is what evil wants to do. See, evil, he lies. See, like keyword is lies, kills, steals, destroy. So they're going to lie with everything they got to tell you that the Bible is not real. So they're going to put a question mark after everything. Why? Because if any part of it is real, then all of it's real, right? So, and the worst is like when an angel, so angels are like 40, 50 feet tall. I don't know if you know that or not. So like whenever you read the Bible, it always says in there, like when he showed up to Mary, the first words out of the angel's mouth was fear not. So every time an angel shows up, it's always fear not, because these things are huge. Okay, so when they show up, they're scary. And so when an angel mates with a human being, you get giants. That's what happens. And so, and we know the men of renown, they were thrown out of heaven because that's when Lucifer went against Jesus, went against God. So they were thrown out of heaven. And so it always goes back to creation. And so there's always a deception on the earth, because why? What did they try to build before? Babylon. What did God do? Right before Babylon was built, God intervened. So remember the Tower of Babel story? It's no different. So Daniel prophesied the kingdom that's going to be built, and this was 2,500 years ago. And right before, let's go back to history, that which has been will be again. So right before Nimrod finished building the Tower of Babel, God showed up, destroyed the tower, and twisted everybody's tongues and gave all the languages across the world so they couldn't communicate. And this was right before it was finished. So right now, they're almost done completing Babylon. And right before they're almost done completing Babylon, Babylon the Great has fallen, because Daniel 2 verse 34 says, while you were watching, a stone carved out, Jesus Christ, by no human hand, comes in and destroys that tower. And the stone is basically the word of Jesus spoken through all of us on this earth. We're going to basically have the power and the means, because we can now, via Jesus on the cross, by the blood of Jesus, trample on the throat and on the heads of scorpions and serpents. And that's literally in Deuteronomy. We're to be the head, not the tail. But Satan's deceived the world, and we're now the tail. And so we're going to have a flipping of the scales. And then back to is what happened at the Red Sea. If God didn't show up, so if God doesn't show up, Nino, the world is, they're going to grab the world. But God wrote the end from the beginning, and he gave them a season of time. And so we've watched all of this manifest, that the season is
so what
over.
we're seeing right now is and I see it, and I'm sure my audience sees it too, is the confidence and arrogance of these people. They're floating on cloud nine. They think they've won. Really, that's what it looks like to me. They have Trump. They think they got Trump down for the count. They're throwing more charges on him. The gag order, war starting, and the war has started in Ukraine now. War started in Israel with Hamas. We got the border being invaded. I mean, it looks like to them, they're like, we got this. It looks to them, like, seriously, that's what they're portraying.
It's both. I agree with you, but it's also they're freaking out, because everything they throw at him, they can't take him down. Everything and the bride, like us, like you, for example, right? Your podcast keeps growing, right? So everything they're trying to do is ultimately not working, but they haven't grabbed control of humanity. They're freaked out because there's alternate media out there talking about all this stuff. Trump, no matter what they do with him, it's like, like a duck, you throw whatever at just all the feather just comes off, nothing sticks, right? And so they're freaking out. So yes, but they're doing all this because they're coming in guns a-blazing. Why? When you're in the rink, when you know that the guy might get you, you come in when you're kind of pinned in that corner, what are you going to do? You're going to come in with everything you got to take that guy down. And that's kind of where the world's at right now. And so we're seeing like this double-edged sword. They're throwing everything they can at humanity, because they know, because you've actually said on one of your podcasts, and we talked about this. If the truth comes out about what they did, the world's going to be throwing up, just disgusted to all high end, because what they did, including to the kids and the children, it's horrific, and they cannot let the truth come out.
Right. But the truth has come out in parcels and segments, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But when it really comes out, it's going to be, I've been told it's going to be like the floodgates open up and the world's going to be like in shock.
Yeah. That's it. So like right now you can visualize the world as floodgates. Okay. So you have this massive dam, and a truth comes out and they stick a finger in it. The truth comes out, they stick a finger in it. And this is what's been going on for a long time now, for years now. And they have thousands of people that can stick fingers, millions probably, they probably 100,000 people. Again, they're few. Okay, we're in the billions. They're few, but there's still enough of them to have all these, fires that they can keep putting out, to keep sticking their fingers in the dam. And this is the analogy I can give you. When God intervenes, the dam breaks. Okay, when God intervenes, the dam breaks. So let's get into the presentation here, just so you can kind of have a visual of, if you give your viewers a visual here again. So last presentation, we are not political times, they're biblical times. Remember I'm going to go through a lot of this pretty quickly, because a lot of it's, as we've talked about, basically 400 years was when the Mayflower landed. How long? We talked about Pharaoh and Egypt. How long was Israel in bondage to Egypt? 400 years. Okay, so these are biblical times. We're talking about the seals of Revelation. So what are the seals? There's 7 seals. The first 4 are the 4 horsemen. The first 2 are open. Okay, so the first one was this guy right here. Okay, and then we can expand on that. And there's the archer who brings plague. He's actually got a picture of himself called Apollo, and he's in the Sistine Chapel, and Apollo brings deadly plague. So this is basically what who the first seal was. Second seal was peace. We mentioned that one's peace was taken from the earth. And this was precisely 1,260 days from when 45 comes into office, plus 40 days. So this is a biblical time point that this exactly happened. More importantly, these seals open on Jewish holidays. So what happened here on the first seal, this one opened on Hanukkah. Big Hanukkah, you know. So this seal was open on Hanukkah of 20, okay. And then from that one, the second seal was open on Pentecost.
Wow.
The third seal we just saw manifesting right now, and that third seal specifically is the great wealth transfer, and it's the black horse. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So now, all these, we're all shooting towards, so what is the plan in the Bible? So the agenda's plan in the Bible is Lucifer's got a plan, and it's about getting these 4 horses riding. So what are the 4 horses? Well, we've talked about the first 2. The third one is the great wealth transfer. And the last one is a green horse, which is basically plague and pestilence.
I didn't know there was a green horse.
Yeah, it actually, I learned this weekend, actually. If you look at the word, it's called chloros. The Greek translation of chloros is green.
Wait, and what is that? What does that represent?
So these are the 4
famine
horses.
and pestilence?
Yeah, so exactly. It's right here. It says, and they were given the authority over a third of the earth to kill with the sword and with a famine, with pestilence, and with wild beasts on the earth. So when the 4 horses,
isn't that, when I think of pestilence, I think of pests, like
it's
bugs
like
and shit.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, and if you like, also what happened with the bubonic plague, for example, a third of humanity died in Europe when this all went down, years ago with the bubonic plague. So what you're seeing, so then these 4 horses are riding. This is chaos upon the earth, but this is the cool part, right? You understand this. So look at the colors: white, red, black, green. Look at all these colors. Notice they're all in the Middle East countries. Okay, so all these colors. So these colors, so when all 4 of these horses are riding.
Hey, you forgot Mexico.
So Mexico as well, probably in there too. But all of these countries will be tied in with the 4 horsemen.
So Mexico as well, because Mexico's red, white, and green.
Yeah, it's probably similar colors as well too. So, but
that's interesting. I didn't know so many flags are the same colors, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I learned this past weekend at the conference that I was at, but this is all 4 horses are riding, but this is the cool part. They only control a quarter of the earth. So let me ask you a question. Do you see red, white, and blue in there anywhere?
No.
Right. Get my point? Okay. So if you think they're going to grab humanity right now, no, because it's actually not in Revelation. You can see, because basically the Antichrist comes from where? He comes from the Middle East. He comes from the United Nations. He's not going to come for the United States. So there's no red, white, and blue. Do
you suspect who the Antichrist is? I've heard it could be King Henry, William. Oh, that's probably who you think it is right there, huh?
Yeah, so this is the calculation.
Right when I asked the question, boom.
Yeah, I find it interesting just because he turns 50 in 20.
I mean, that's crazy. My mind goes there, and that's your next slide.
Yeah. So there you go. So you're tied in with me. You know, the Holy Spirit's good. He's working. He's tied in. But so this is the whole point. You understand. So the 4 horsemen are okay. The 4 horsemen of Revelation, they basically are riding. So they bring, basically the word would be chaos upon the earth. Okay, does that make sense? They bring chaos upon the earth, and then you got this guy show up. It's probably going to be him, but it could be someone else. That he's going to show up, and he's going to be a solution to the problem.
It's just weird that the Antichrist needs '𝗵𝗶𝗄. Sorry.
So our bottom line is there's going to be a savior show up on the earth. But what I'm trying to illustrate with all of this is all of this World War III plans and what they're talking about, it's too soon. Okay. So you have to understand, we're to discern the sign of the times, what the times of what we live in. And so if you don't understand, this is why I'm talking about the Bible. If you don't understand the timing that's written within the Bible, you'll actually have fear. Right? Because you might act tomorrow or next month or next year, right? So you might actually be very concerned about this. But then when you understand the timing within the Bible, you come to realize God's got a bigger plan, and the time windows are already written within.
Well, Juan always says we're gonna pull the reins back in America, and then that's gonna take us into a bigger war. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. In the future. But again, the nations of the world are going to fear the United States because of what God's about to do to evil. You see, so what's about to happen is pretty cool. So remember, evil is a creation. God is the creator. So it's like, you see that picture of, on the internet where Satan's wrestling Jesus. Okay. Yeah, that's a joke. Okay. There's no arm wrestling between Satan and Jesus. It's not even a joke. It's not even possible, because Jesus would destroy evil in a split second. Okay. So there's no wrestling match. It's like you walk into a wrestling match against the Nephilim. Okay. It's over. You see what I'm saying? There's not even a battle when Jesus shows up. The wrestling match is the greatest joke in the world, because there isn't one. God will literally destroy Satan in a heartbeat, because when the creation meets the creator, it's over. And so it's important time points. Okay. So if you read Psalm 83, it says, your enemies make an uproar. Sound familiar? It's what they're doing right now. They hate you. Sound familiar? Okay. They lay crafty plans against you. Sound familiar? Okay. They say, come, let us wipe out this nation. Let the names of the covenant nation, basically, will be Israel, but now the United States, be remembered no more. What do they want to do? They want to, you talk about arrogance? They want to control everything, right? It's right in Psalm 83. So if you know my time windows, it's 4,000 years of the Jews, 2,000 years of the Gentiles, 1,000-year millennial reign. That's a 4-2-1 cycle. God revealed that to me, the stock market cycle. That's potentially showing to a market crash into year-end December. Secondly, October is a 10th month, okay? So 10, 2, 4. So if you remove the 0, that's 1, 2, 4. What I'm saying, and also oil went to 0 on 4-2-1. Okay, and so it's forwards and backwards. So, and the crash of 1929, Nino, started on October 24th.
So this October 24th is the next big date,
right?
I don't know. It's already October 18th right now.
Right. So just write this down. I don't, it's some of the important dates.
Okay, hold on, but you're tentative on this one. You're not as confident as you were about October 6th.
Well, let me give you some 24 examples, okay? Because there's more powerful numbers. This will be a start. If anything, this will be a starting point.
October 24th will be a starting point. Okay, a starting point of what, a financial collapse?
I don't know. It could be a stock market crash. It could be some kind of an attack. I don't know. It doesn't have to be tied into a stock market crash.
How does October 26th look for you?
I don't know. I'm just from a perspective on precious metals, cryptocurrencies is what I'd be looking at. All I know is that we got a historic November. So that's why, the title we'll get to in a minute, but the title of this presentation is very likely going to be, I would suggest, Christmas in November. Like, hey, I like that, because basically, remember in August we had the title was Red October. Okay, well, we nailed that one on top of that too. Okay, that was an August interview. First week of August, we titled October Red October, and boom, look what we got here. So now we're in October, and I'm basically saying potentially what I'm seeing happen is historic, awesome. I mean, awesome things, but they're also horrific things depending on what side of the fence you're sitting on, right? So in November, we'll talk about it in just a minute, and I believe a lot of this could start going off on or after the 24th.
more bad things to happen October 24th.
Yeah, because there's a prophecy. It says, I will bring this nation to its knees, so the United States must fall yet. The prophecy is, I will bring this nation to its knees.
Okay, so we should expect more bad things to happen in October 24th, going into November.
Yeah. And then you will, and also, I would say also Halloween time. Be very cautious of that into the first couple days. So between the 31st of October into the 3rd of November, very important time window as well too, based on my charts, and those who got my subscriptions updates will know why as well too. So that's a very important time. We've got my dogs. We got tabernacles. That was right on the money as well. The tabernacles hit perfectly, so that was good. And then we got October. So the crash of 87 and the crash of 1929 both happened in October. Is it going to replicate? I don't know. I'm just saying 1024 is an interesting time point. This is what I told you about. They will bring this nation to its knees. Okay. But this is the cool part. And then, I love that "and then" part, because this is God talking. And then you will hear the sound of great victory. You see, that's a Red Sea miracle moment. You see, when God closed that Red Sea, that was when the world heard the sound of great victory. And the nations of the world from that moment forward were fearful of the God of Israel. Everybody heard what happened when God showed up. That's so important to understand. So what we're at here is the year of the Lord's favor, year 2023. We don't know the day of vengeance. We're not going to know when this is, okay? So this basically goes back to 1913. This is basically the origins of Arab-Israel conflict. We've got basically the war that began in 1948. That's when Trump turned 700 days old from his birth. Israel was their independence. The Arab states refused to recognize Israel's independence until when? The Six-Day War. We talked about that. So from the Six-Day War, this is where it gets interesting. You're on a 50-year cycle, and you get exactly to Revelation 12 sign. So Revelation 12 sign is exactly 50 years from the Six-Day War. And so the point on that one I'm trying to make is what happens in the Bible. You talk about Exodus, right? You're supposed to plow the fields for 6 years and then rest on the 7th year. Well, from the Revelation 12 sign, 2017, you add 6 years and you got this year, 2023. So what have I said to you? I basically said to you very clearly that from the summer solstice of 2023 to the winter solstice, it's a 180-degree shift.
Wow.
So these people are exposed, destroyed, and all hell breaks loose
in November.
on their heads. Well, anytime between now, I would suggest it's
October 26th or October.
I would say my best guess would be something's going to probably start around the 24th, and then it's going to lead into what's coming into end of October and then into November. You have to also understand what happened at the Yam Kiper War. Remember, that war was over on the 26th of October. Is that an important date? I think you asked about the 26th, right? Remember.
But this looks like it's just getting ready to start. It hasn't even started.
I'm sure it does, because the United States hasn't brought to its knees yet. You see? So is to the 26th, 27th of October important date? We'll find out. I'm telling you, this war is going to be short-lived. It's over into the end of November. So whatever this plays out. The war itself, too, the peace treaty was signed on the 11th of November. I will give you another time point, November.
Gosh, 22nd. I hope you're right, man.
Well, again, let's look at scriptures. Let's just look at scripture. Forget about what my opinions are. Let's just look at scriptures, okay? So we're talking the 50-year cycle. We basically know that we've overturned Roe v. Wade. If God is with us, who could be against us? Roe v. Wade became law in 73. What we're seeing right now, if you want to know what scripture you should look at right now, David, read Matthew 24. You will hear of wars, and you'll hear of rumors of wars. But see to it that you're not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come, meaning the evil stuff is still to come in the future. All these things that we're seeing right now are the beginnings of birth pains, David. They're birth pains. So that's what's happening in the world right now. We have the Yam Kiper War. It came to an end. The peace treaty is signed on November 11th. Is that important? Well, we're going to find out. The petrodollar contract was in 73. Also the World Economic Forum, they proclaimed their plans in the Davos Manifesto in 73. All of this stuff is 73. We just had confirmation with the Yam Kippur War of 73. Get it? This is the Jubilee cycle, but the Jubilee cycle is telling us that on the 6th year, things come to an end, because the year 2024, David, is a year of rest. It's a year of rest. Babel.
So this fall is going to be.
So the quick.
It's kind of like what Clemente said. Fall.
Yes. Yeah. In the fall. So the fall can do its work in America. So let's give you the calculations for November. Why I'm saying November is going to be fantastic and horrible, depending on what side you sit on, but Christmas in November. Why? Because from when you run Pentecost, the second seal of Revelation, you run 1,260 days. It takes you to this November. Interesting.
Wow.
So remember, 1,260-day marks are very important. This is cool. The Trump cycle, okay? He wins election on November 8th, 2016. 1,260 days, oil goes to 421. Oil goes to negative $38 a barrel right there. There's 421 right there. 1,260 days, November 2nd. So back in November again. So
I mean, if they follow, my question is, don't they follow the same? I mean, don't they know this is coming?
They're
for
copycats.
Them?
Yes, they're copycats, but they're trying to bring in their agenda early, and they're about to be smashed by God. The creation is about to meet the creator. So we're going to have Christmas in November. I'm telling you, what was the 𝗀𝗃 prophecy? And in the fall, you will know who my David is. So are we about to watch this? Well, I don't know, but the calculations right here are sure pointing to a heck of an interesting November. And then the last part of November I want to point to is this. What's November, Nino? What is November?
Final
Thanks.
harvest.
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, I said final
Thanksgiving.
harvest.
Yeah, final harvest, right? So what's the harvest? It's Thanksgiving. And so what does Galatians 6:7 say? It says, be not deceived. So don't be deceived what's going on in the world right now. For God is not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, means what kind of seeds you plant, thus shall you reap. So if you plant evil seeds, you're going to get the evil that you planted on your own head. So it's interesting that all of this is panning out into the end. And so November 22nd, very important date. The next day after that is the 23rd, which is Thanksgiving. And then you got to get another 1, 2, 4 on the 24th of November. So all I'm saying is that God's not going to be mocked. I do know that the year 2024, in closing here, is a year of rest. When you read Psalm 24, there's 2 words in Psalm 24, David, and they're called blessings and vindications. Psalm 24 is a year of, year 24 is the year of Shemitah. It's a year of rest. So God's work, like the 6-day war, the work was done on the 6th day. You know what the 6-day war, this is the cool part of the 6-day war, I'll finish here. On the 6-day war, there is one tank. Israel had one tank. They had like 60 rounds left, something like that. And they had, and the other side, the Arabs had a bunch of tanks. This one tank in the last day couldn't miss. It hit like 50 or 60 tanks every single shot.
Wow.
They couldn't miss. They thought they had an army of tanks shooting at them, and Israel had one tank, and just it was taken out every single.
I've never heard that story. That's
tank.
crazy.
And so they literally they waved the flag. They basically stopped the war because they thought Israel had this massive army that was taking them out, but it was one tank.
Oh,
so
wow.
When God shows up, it's over. And so that's the point. And that was the last day. That was day 6, and the war was over. And the 7th day was a day of rest. The year 2023 is the year of is the 6th year. Next year is 2027. 2027, I'm sorry, next year is year 2024, the 7th year. It's a year of rest, mark my words. And that correlates directly with what happens for specifically with relation to the hangman effect and what happened with what's going to go on Purim. So we'll see all of these things play out into Purim of next year. But it's going to be historic finish to the year, and November is supposed to be truly biblical.
Wow. Bo, thank you so much for giving us hope, a faith, strengthening our faith, amigo. So then, date, can you just give me the 3 big dates that are coming up? It's the October 24th.
So October 24th would be a starting point if you use that 1929, because that's the day that the 1929, the greatest crash started. Okay, that's the one word started. Then you got, it's interesting because 2 days later is the 26th into the 27th, based on our timeline from when that Yam Kiper War ended. That the ceasefire agreement was signed on November 11th, which would be this November 11th into the 12th of November. Again, just important time points. And then that takes us into the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of November, based on the calculations that I'm looking at. So then by the end of September, we're supposed to see a historic.
You mean the end of November?
The end of November. Sorry, my partner's here.
So then when do you want to do another show? After in November, or do you want to do it at the end of October? I have a feeling we should do it at the end of October.
Sure, yeah. Let's just see what plays out. End of October, early November. We want to do it somewhere in there because we're in biblical times. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. I got a feeling a lot more is going to happen around October.
First week of November would be probably a good time point. Let's do it like after Halloween, because because between the 31st and November 3rd is another very powerful time point in the markets and in the world. So maybe somewhere in the 4th.
Let's think about doing it October 28th, 27th, 28th, somewhere around there.
October, November.
October.
Okay, if you want, that's good.
No. All right.
Yeah. So the point is, in closing, fear not. I know it's crazy out there, but it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be the Red October. Okay, it is, and we're watching it right now. But then this leads into, we're in biblical prophecies, right? God, when He shows up, it's over. Okay, whether it's in 1 minute or whether it's in 24 or 48 hours. But I'm telling you, when God shows up, it's over. We're stepping into a window of divine blessings and favor. Okay, God's not going to be mocked. These people, they're nasty people. They have horrific plans for us, and this is no different. The Red Sea, we're put against the Red Sea.
Got you. All right, Bo. Thank you very much, folks. Go to Gold 2020 Forecast. Right? That's what it is.
Go 2020forecast.com or put my name in on YouTube. And Nino, God bless you and thank you for all you do.
I love you, man. You're one of my favorite guests. God bless, Poe.